Hello there. Last night I went to the theater for Cheap Tuesdays and ended up seeing The Boy and the Heron. It's an animated fantasy adventure film that follows a young boy named Mahito who recently lost his mother. When a heron lures him into a tower with an offer to see his dead mother, Mahito ends up being drawn into a strange new world and taken on an exciting adventure. The film was written and directed by Hayao Miyazaki and stars Soma Sentoki as Mahito, Masaki Suda as the Grey Heron, and Ko Shibasaki as Kiriko. If it wasn't clear, I saw the original version of the film with subtitles and not the dubbed version. The story is a two-part tale that follows a young boy on a magical journey. The first half of the film focuses on Mahito and his grief before becoming enamored with the heron. We see how his mother died, how it affects him, and how his relationship is going with his new stepmother. Then, the heron shows up and starts causing problems. The second part of the film begins when Mahito and the heron enter the world inside the tower for the first time. Mahito wakes up alone in a new world with all new rules. There are talking animals, the spirits of the dead are wandering around, and there's magic. Mahito goes on a journey to find his mother with the help of Kiriko, a young sailor, Himi the Fire Lady, and the Grey Heron. Together they face off against parakeets, pelicans, and a world that doesn't make any sense. The cast is fairly small with only a few characters in the real world all relating to Mahito, a few characters from the tower, and a couple of people who exist inside the other world. They're all related to Mahito in some way, either members of his family or people he meets and interacts with. For protagonists, you have Mahito and the Grey Heron, and for antagonists, you have the Lord of the Tower and the Birds of the Tower. Mahito is a quiet young boy who is determined, confident, and loyal to the people around him. He's also quite insightful about the world and how it works. He's suffering throughout the movie from the loss of his mother and trying to accept his new family with Natsuko. The Grey Heron is a mysterious bird who appears to lure members of the Maki family into the tower. He works for the Lord of the Tower and is sent as a guide for Mahito. The heron is a liar who is surprisingly loyal and shows off a weird mixture of bravery and cowardice. The Lord of the Tower is a mysterious being that rules over the world inside it. He appears as a shadowy, distant figure at first, but the more they discover about the world, the more they realize he controls everything around them. The Birds of the Tower are animals that were brought into the tower with no source of food. They hungrily search high and low for anything they can eat and have become carnivorous through desperation. Some of them still behave like birds who also talk, and others are like humanoid birds walking around on 2 feet and using tools. The visual journey comes in 2 parts like the story. The first section is set in rural Japan during the height of World War II. Mahito and his father move in with Natsuko in a traditional home in the countryside. Mahito goes about his day while seeing a tower off in the distance and a strange heron that flies around taunting him. Once they enter the tower, they discover a new world where nothing makes sense and magic is real. There are vast, beautiful landscapes with environments that shouldn't exist, buildings that don't follow the laws of physics, and spirits roaming freely. Sound-wise, the film is very quiet and focuses mostly on ambient noise with a few quiet instrumentals every once in a while. The movie is so quiet that you can often hear the characters' footsteps and breathing. The music they use comes in the form of solo piano pieces or piano pieces with string accompaniment. The songs tend to have a melancholic sound to them and give the movie a dour and lonely atmosphere. Okay, so how does it do? The writing is interesting and consistent across the board. It's a bit complex, so everything might not make sense right away, but if you're paying attention and work through the story beats, all the pieces end up fitting into place quite neatly. The story is also interesting, but not quite exciting. It starts at a glacial pace and introduces us to very muted characters dealing with powerful emotions. They keep your interest by introducing mystical elements in the background, like the mysterious tower and the Grey Heron. Once they make it into the tower, it becomes a journey of curiosity with a lot of big emotion underneath. Strange sights and sounds, explanations that don't make any sense, and things that shouldn't be. It's a world of wonder that they use to tell a story about death, grief, acceptance, and rebirth. The cast does a fine job of voicing their characters, drawing out bits of emotion when they're asked to, and bringing a decent bit of energy to their performances. Everyone sounded like they fit right in, and nothing ever felt awkwardly delivered. That said, the film doesn't have much dialogue and doesn't afford the cast many opportunities to stand out. There are a couple of small speeches from Mahito, which Sentoki does well, and he and Yoshino Kimura showed some decent emotion. It was spread out, and the rest of the performances were quite muted. Visually, the journey is quite exciting to look at and easy to follow along with, and there are a ton of beautiful looking landscapes and settings developed for the story. They did a good job of making both worlds feel lived in and real. For standout scenes, you had the little battles with the Birds of the Tower and the bits of magic use. They make a big point of creating flashy sequences that are captivating to watch. My favorite is the scene of them following the Parakeet King and him slowly slicing up the walkway behind him. Sound-wise, the film felt empty. The lack of music created a quiet vibe, but it also felt like a missed opportunity. They had plenty of chances to add flavor to the real world and the world inside the tower to differentiate them, or to help build the journey a little bit. They chose not to use music, and I think it does backfire. The music they did use was good at adding sad, melancholic notes to the film, and seeing how much of an impact those songs had made me wish they did more. The instrumentals turn each of the quiet and sad moments into one of self-reflection. It works well with the themes of the film and adds quite a bit of depth to the storytelling. Overall, I like The Boy and the Heron. It's a bit different from most of the things you'll see coming out of Hollywood, and it touches on a difficult topic, death and how to come to terms with it. It's a bit muted in terms of flavor, but the artwork is incredibly beautiful and the story is filled with meaning. If that sounds interesting to you, give it a try. As for a rating, I'd give this film a 7 out of 10. Remember, these are just my thoughts on the film. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Bye bye.